Welcome back. It's Preston with Upstairs Basement. Today we're going to be discussing different ways to price your clients. I've worked at different studios. I have talked to studio owners in the past, and most music studios like to do an hourly rate for their sessions, where the artist comes in, books a certain amount of hours, and pays a certain price. But I know for me personally, I've been looking for some different pricing strategies, and I've found a few that I think could work out really well, and I wanted to mention them to you just in case you're also looking for a different pricing strategy. Now, first and foremost, have a non-refundable deposit. No matter how you charge for sessions, do this. Otherwise, everyone will cancel, everyone will reschedule, and you will never make any money. Another good tip is having a 2-hour minimum. It's not necessary, especially for, regular clients, but that way you're not sending your engineer in to make some pocket change. All payments should go directly to the studio owner. Don't let your clients pay the engineer and then have them pay you later. It just gets messy, and frankly, I don't trust people. So make sure all your payments go directly to the studio, and then you as the owner can pay whoever you need to pay. When it comes to pricing literally anything, you need to figure out your target market. This way you know who you're going to be charging and why they're going to be using your service. Your target market is typically individual artists, bands, engineers, people that make music. Okay, so the first group that we're going to be discussing is artists and bands. So my first idea is to do an hourly rate, but with a little twist. I think if you add some sort of incentive, it gives artists a better reason to come back and use your studio more often. One way you can go about this is simply the more hours you book, the cheaper it is per hour. Let's say for a normal 2-hour studio session, you charge $60 an hour. So that would be $120. But for a 4-hour session, instead of $240, you only charge $220. Now, this is obviously just an example, but the more hours, the cheaper the price. Another idea I had is doing some sort of monthly subscription service. So you could have artists or bands subscribe to your studio and pay a monthly fee to record whenever they want to within scheduling parameters. This would give the artist more opportunity at a low cost, and it will also allow you as a studio owner to have that steady income every month. The only problem I see with this is it doesn't allow for a lot of scalability, which is something you definitely want. You might want to consider having a combination of both. You can give the artist or band a large amount of hours that they can use per month. This way you're still getting that income at the beginning of the month, but they can't overuse the studio time. The best way to do this is instead of charging $60 an hour for a 2-hour session, you're allowed to record 30 hours this month as long as you pay me $500 at the beginning of the month. That saves them a lot of money on studio time, and that gives you some sort of peace of mind at the beginning of the month. Now, the next category, which I personally think is the most important, is how to pay your engineers. Engineers are how you make your money. And I think a lot of times engineers are undervalued, and I want to make sure that my engineers understand that that is not the case. So instead of doing the normal hourly rate, we can do it with the twist and give them an incentive. I like this idea a lot because it'll make the engineer want to book more sessions. So an example of this would be paying your engineer $20 an hour to record in the studio, but you can do some type of tier-based system where if the engineer records more hours, they get paid more money. They use this tactic a lot in sales, and I think it can be implemented in the studio the exact same way. To excite your engineers, you can wait until the end of the month and do like a monthly bonus. So say your engineer records for 20 hours this month. He can get a $50 bonus. If he records for 30 hours this month, he can get a $100 bonus. Something like that will really make your engineer want to get more time in the studio, which all in all brings you more money. Another way to pay your engineers is to have them book studio time just like clients do. Instead of $60 an hour for a client, the engineer could be allowed to book the studio time for $40 an hour or $30 an hour, and they can bring their own clients in there to record. That way you as a studio owner, you're paid upfront before the session, and you don't have to worry about paying your engineers because they already bought the time. I've seen a couple different studios do this, and I think it works, but me personally, I think it separates the engineer and the studio itself, makes the engineer feel more like a client instead of making them feel like they're a part of the studio. When it comes to mixing and mastering services, there are a couple different ways you can go about it. You can charge per song, and you can pay your engineer a percentage to mix that song. This is something you would do on your own own time without the artist there. So for example, you charge $100 for the artist to have their song mixed, and you pay the engineer $60 to do it. Also, you want to keep in mind you should have a different price for mixes that are recorded at the studio versus mixes that are sent in from a different studio. I would include some sort of discount for songs that are recorded in your own studio because you want to keep people in your space. Now, the other way you can charge for mixing and mastering is by doing a session. You know, just like a recording session, you can have the artist come in and sit in and watch you mix and master the song. That way they can give input and be a part of the process. And instead of this being a per song rate, it would be an hourly rate, just like a recording session. I think this is a good idea because it's more of a collaboration. It allows the artist to give you their vision and make it come to life. Now, of course, you always want to look at your competition's rates, see what their prices are like and why their prices make sense. It's all a trial and error. Spend a month, spend 2 months, figure out what brings in the most income and keeps the happiest clients. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope it was informative. Hope it helps you figure out your target market and learn how to price your clients. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and hit that subscribe button as well. If you hit the bell, it'll give you a notification every single time I post. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.